I'm Isaac, and me and my flatmate Manuel were so bored during lockdown, so completely bored, and we had no internet for over a month as well, that when lockdown ended we decided, let's walk from our flat in northwest London to a pub in Colchester, walking over 120 kilometres, and on the way let's go to every single other pub that we go past. We told all of our friends we're walking from London to Colchester, and they all just said, no, you're not. No one believed us. So we left our flat with a plan of 59 pubs that we were planning to go to. The first one was fine, but the next two after that were closed because of COVID. And then we found a couple of pubs that weren't even on our plan. So within 2 or 3 hours of leaving, we'd already gone quite off our original plan. Most of the actual day was quite uneventful from then on until we found a casino. And I said, should we go inside? And Mum was like, all right. So we went in and I had to go on the betting machine. We were only there for about 10-15 minutes and I won £30. And I was like over the moon about it. I was ecstatic. 28 quid. That's how you do it.
Damn.
We were really drunk at this point. We'd had about 10 or 11 pints in, half a day really. And we were walking down these roads and I suddenly noticed the number plates. In the middle of the number plates of the cars was the number 69 and another car 69, another car 69. And this just got repeated on about 12 or 13 cars in a row and it was just weird. So we kept walking and we had about 3 or 4 more hours to walk until we reached the hotel we'd booked. We got there about 5:30 in the morning. We were exhausted. I mean, day one hadn't gone exactly as we'd planned it and some weird stuff happened and we were so drunk. But yeah, interesting stuff happened and that was the end of day one. At the start of day two, me and Manuel went to a pub, had a pint, and we ordered some breakfast, and it was pretty crappy to be honest, it wasn't great. And we kept walking after this, and we went through a really sort of nice posh area with lots of mansions. They all looked completely different from each other, and it was really nice start to the day. But at this point, the realisation of what we were actually doing started to sink in. Like day one was mostly filled with excitement, and we were looking forward to it. But now we thought, okay, we're actually walking 120 kilometres. It started to feel a lot more real. So we walked a bit further and it started raining quite heavily, and before long it was absolutely chucking it down. Me and Manuel got absolutely drenched in rain. A car went by and drove through a huge puddle and Manuel got absolutely soaked. I only got a little bit of the water, but Manuel was soaking wet, and we kept walking and we got to some roads that were pretty dangerous, to be honest, because there was no pavement, there was no side to the road at all. There was only the road and there were a lot of curves in it. So whenever there was a curve, if there was a car coming, me and Manuel had to jump to the other side quickly before we got run over. And if there had been a car coming towards us and a car coming from behind us, we would have been screwed. There was literally nowhere to go. And it was dark at this point. It was about 6-7 in the evening. We had to walk along a motorway for about 2 hours now. To get to the final pub. So I called the last pub to check when their final orders were, and they said last orders were at midnight. And we were about a mile away and we had 5 minutes left until it closed. And I really didn't want to miss out on these last pints of the day because we'd already missed quite a few pubs. So I said to Manuel, look, I'm going to run to this pub. I want us to make sure we get these final pints. So I ran the last mile in about 6 or 7 minutes, desperately trying to get there. And when I got to the pub, it was about 2 past midnight, and I said, look, is it okay if I still get a pint? And the guy said, yeah, sure. So he gives me a pint, and I got one from Manuel. 20 minutes later, Manuel shows up, and I said, where were you? And he said, oh yeah, when you left, I just took a little rest on the street. Had no idea about this, but he sat down. As soon as I ran to the pub, he just sat down, took a rest, which was quite annoying to find out. Anyway, we finished our pints, and we left. And then we ordered some pizza because we hadn't eaten anything since the terrible breakfast we had about 12 hours before this. Had the pizza and then went to a Premier Inn, which is where we were staying that night. When we checked in, I'm pretty sure that the people who worked there thought that me and Manuel were a couple, sharing a room together, and just, I don't know, it just kind of seemed that way. We got to our room, and when we finally got into our beds, we could hear these like strange noises of the rooms near us, and I'm pretty sure within them there were like couples engaging in activities that couples engage in. And that was the end of day 2. At the start of day 3, me and Manuel left the hotel later than we'd planned to. I went to a few more pubs, and on the way we were just talking about the night, and Manuel told me he had sleep paralysis. He was lying in his bed and he couldn't move and he was stuck in his body. And at the end of his bed he saw me standing there in my pants. And the weird thing is, when I woke up, I wasn't in the position I went to bed in, but also all my sheets and my duvet had been completely moved. So, I mean, I've sleepwalked in the past, so we don't know to this day whether or not I actually did get to the end of his bed and just stand there staring at him. We walked a bit further, and at one pub I went to the toilet, and on the way my foot really started hurting. And when I left the toilet, my foot was absolutely killing me. I mean, I think it's because of the strain of the 80, 90 kilometers we'd done, but it was unbearable. And I said to Manuel, you know what? I genuinely don't think I can go on. I'm pretty sure I'd broken my foot. It was absolute agony. But because we'd come so far, we soldiered on. I ignored the pain. I mean, this day was depressing. Like, the first 2 days, the first day was great. The second day, it wasn't bad. At this point, we wanted to get it over and done with. We'd come this far. We were walking so slowly. I mean, looking on the maps on our phone, an estimated 1 minute walk on the maps was taking us 5 minutes in real life. That's how slow we were going. And it got to a point where we thought, you know what, we just can't go on anymore. We physically couldn't go any further. We sat down on the edge of the road and tried to order an Uber to Colchester. Problem is, there were no Ubers available because we were in quite a remote area. So we had to walk a little bit further, and we found a sign that said, "Welcome to Colchester." So even though we hadn't walked from our flat in London to the pub in Colchester, we did make it to Colchester, which in itself is a pretty big achievement. And the final pub, which was the Marquee in Colchester, we got there, and the reason I wanted to take Manuel there is because I've got a lot of funny, interesting stories from the last few years of my life, which quite a few people have heard about before. And we got there, ordered a few Jaeger bombs, our final drinks, and that was it. We'd done all the pubs. Now it was just a matter of getting home. We finally made it back to the flat, and we completed our journey. We'd walked from our flat in northwest London all the way to Colchester. Over 120 kilometres, about 30 pubs, about 30 pints, over a 3-day period. It was incredible. I mean, even though physically we felt terrible, I mean, I did have a broken foot after all, we felt so accomplished, and like we had this achievement that we can talk about, and a funny story to tell people as well. And that is the end of the story.
Yeah.